This video is a brief history of the wooden battleship.
Sorry, we're starting at the Vikings, so you're gonna have to leave.
Their designs, their armaments, and the people on board. This is completely wrong. The Vikings never had horns on their helmets. We'll also look at some of their battles. As the captain of this video, welcome aboard.
I'm Brian Pilchard, and I love history. Using my skills in effects, clothes, and disguises, I'm going to take you on a journey back in time for an adventure in super history! History!
It's 800 AD, the age of the Viking. Viking ships were double-ended vessels with a steering oar. Although the Viking ships had a sail, the ships would mainly rely on oar power. These shallow draft vessels were perfect for landing on beaches. Although these vessels were mainly used for raids, they did encounter ship-to-ship combat. During battles, they would rely on oar power. The tactic was to get close and grapple. The crews on board would then fight each other using hand weapons. For a Viking battle, check out the time Alfred the Great designed his own ships to fight the Danes in 896 AD. They were longer and taller. In the 12th and 13th centuries, in Britain, boats were developed for trading goods. These new trade ships were called cogs. They were double-ended, had a sail, and were steered by a steering oar. They were also made wider, so more stuff could be transported. By the 14th century, ships would have rudders and be called nefs. During war, these same ships were used for moving troops. Raised platforms called castles helped archers get a better shot at the people on the opponent's decks. They had a forecastle, aftercastle, and topcastle. Similar to the Vikings, the tactic was to close and grapple. On these ships, small siege items could be used, but the majority of fighting was done with hand weapons to fight the personnel on the ships. To see a navy battle in this era, check out the Battle of Sluys, where the British meleeed with the chained up French fleet. Up to 20,000 people died. It's the 15th century, and things are heating up. Blacksmiths have been developing their skills.
So the heavy ball comes out the end? It might work, it might not. What do you mean it might work, it might not? Take a gamble. Suppose I won't be the one firing it. Deal!
Who will be firing it, my lord?
This reproduction of a wrought-iron cannon is very similar to the original. Instead of a barrel made of painted water bottles, this would have been made of iron strips held together by iron rings, similar to a wooden barrel. And instead of this beer stein, it would have been an iron canister that you put the powder down, a wadding, and a shot, and then you fit it in the end, like so. In the early days, primitive cannons on ships were used for assaulting the personnel as opposed to the ships themselves. Cannons were also aimed onto the ship's own decks to fire at boarders. The tactics of ship-to-ship combat remained the same: close in and grapple. With the new cannons, there were all sorts of problems. Reloading was difficult under pressure. During the storage of early gunpowder, the different elements separated, so the gunpowder would have to be carefully remixed. Over time, gun ports were cut into the side of the ship so the cannons could fire lower. During this time, in the Mediterranean, the oar-powered war galley was in use, a similar vessel to the Roman trireme.
No.
It also had its more developed relative, the galleass, which was bigger and had more sails. In some cases, when the galleass wanted to fire its cannons, the oars had to be lifted up. It has been speculated that the Venetian navy were the first in the West to fit cannon on their ship with the Venetian bombard. It's hard to recommend a battle for the war galley as they were used for such a wide span of history, evolving from the medieval cog.
Cogs? More like neffs.
Was the carrack, a roundish ship that still had castles. For good examples of carracks, look no further than the Great Harry and the Mary Rose. They were some of the first ships to have gun ports. Their guns were not standard and had many different types, including basilisks, demi-cannon, culverin, demi-culverin, saker, minion, falconet, falcon, robinet, extra cannon, cannon. The Great Harry and Mary Rose were commissioned by Henry VIII. For a 16th century battle, look into the Battle of Solent, where the Mary Rose inexplicably tipped over and sank. On the wreck of the Mary Rose, they found shot made of stone, iron, and lead. And now, an opinion from Sir Edward Pellew. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, go to our Patreon and give us some money. We now move in to the Broadside era. From the 16th century, the galleon emerged. It looked similar to the carrack, but was generally longer. The longer sides meant more guns, creating a strong broadside offence. And its length meant that it could travel through the water more smoothly. This was a period of transition. Oars to sails and tactics in ship-to-ship battle. In the Spanish Armada, the Spanish loaded their ships with soldiers so they could get close and board, whereas the British, led by Lord Charles Howard, cut down on the amount of soldiers and focused on the sailors. His tactic was to batter the Spanish at distance. I hope someone found that funny. I mean, I didn't laugh, but I'm sure someone out there did. And now we move in to the 18th century. Although the cannons looked similar, the technology had hugely improved. With the earlier guns, it was hard to keep the expanding gas pressure behind the shot. The new cast iron cannons sealed the gas in with the shot. This meant that it could shoot the cannonball out, creating a bigger impact. Although it was more possible to batter an opponent from distance, the tactics still remained largely the same. Another invention in gunnery was the Carinade.
Hi Henry. Oh, hi David. Did you hear about Peter getting boarded by the pirates? I heard he wouldn't have been as brutalised if he'd had a Carinade from the Carin Company. I've heard they are perfect for blowing off pirates' knackers at close range. They are, and at an affordable price. What is the price? Your life, if you don't get one. Secure your future with a Carinade.
The 18th century also saw the introduction of bomb vessels. These were special-made ships that were reinforced so it could carry a mortar for siege operations. Horatio Nelson was serving on a converted bomb vessel when he got into the fight with the polar bear.
With Connor earlier, and there's been real focus in the camp leading up to this match.
Oh, huge takedown by Bear here.
Another big improvement over the 17th century ships was their rigging. For an interesting battle in this era, check out the Battle of Cape St. Vincent. Anything with Nelson, really. He was the Beethoven of the Royal Navy. That was it. Now, throughout the eras we've explored in this video, there were other types of ships. We just had a general look at the ones that were involved in battle. I mean, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? I mean, hundreds of years of complex history in 10 minutes. Come on. Anyway, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our Patreon and give us some production money, which would really help us in our preparation for our 1 million subscriber special. I think we're almost there. Thanks for watching.